In this episode, we're looking at 3 towns that have hosted cults in the United States. Colorado City, Arizona, where the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints originated. Rajneeshpuram in Oregon, a prior community of followers of a spiritual leader. And Moscow, Idaho, home of Christ Church, whose followers are locally referred to as Kirkers. I found research for this episode to actually be rather difficult. There's either not a lot of great articles on the subject, or at least there haven't been too many well-known cults that have taken control or built an actual functioning town. There are many cults who have had their own communes or set up in one city or another, but I wanted to specifically look at towns that were owned or built by cults. Unfortunately, that turned out to be surprisingly few. Before we begin, a quick content warning. I do mention sexual abuse while discussing our first cult town. Colorado City, Arizona was home of the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or FLDS, a sect that has been denounced by the LDS Church. Colorado City's prior name was Short Creek, and before the name change, the town was the site of the largest mass arrest of polygamists in American history. This story is also deeply interconnected with the Yearning for Zion, or YFZ Ranch in Texas. But as I didn't feel I could fit it in as a town, I've decided not to pursue it as an entry in my list of cult towns. The ranch was a community of 700 people built by the FLDS, with about 30 to 40 construction workers coming from Colorado City to build the ranch when the church first bought it. Colorado City itself saw much leadership turnover as leaders seemed to vie for authority and used excommunication to strip others of their faith, their wives, and their children. The wives and the children would be reassigned to other men. It's believed that this excommunication and exilement was also used to ensure that the men of the community would have several wives. In 2014, the Office of the Attorney General of Arizona sought to disband the city and dissolve the local police, but this effort ultimately failed. In 2022, FLDS church leader Samuel Bateman, living in Colorado City, was found to have 20 wives, which included underage girls, and he wanted to marry his teenage daughter. Bateman was a self-proclaimed prophet and used his powers to sexually abuse 10 underage girls. According to the reports, the Colorado City area has the world's highest incident rate of a rare genetic disease called a fumarase deficiency, which is attributed to the percentage of cousin marriages between descendants of the town's founders, Joseph Smith Jessup and John Yeats Barlow. And finally, a news article from August 2024 features Mayor Donya Jessup, which discussed how the area has undergone considerable change, and many of the boys who had been exiled have returned to rebuild their lives there, and only a handful of the FLDS remain in Colorado City. Rajneeshpuram was a religious intentional community in northwest United States, located in Wasco County, Oregon. Incorporated as a city between 1981 and 1988, its population consisted entirely of Rajneesh's, followers of the spiritual teacher Rajneesh, later known as Osho. After leaders of the group fled India, where they were facing punitive action, they came to the United States. Rajneesh convinced his followers to move to the new community he was building in Oregon after selling all of their belongings. Within just 3 years, the members turned the ranch that had been purchased from an empty rural property into a city of up to 7,000 people. This city was complete with urban infrastructure such as the fire department, police, restaurants, malls, townhouses, a 4,200-foot airstrip, a public transportation system using buses, a sewage reclamation plant, a reservoir, and a post office with a zip code. The community was subjected to constant pressure from neighboring towns and residents. There were attempts to overtake towns by Rajneeshpuram, of which Antelope, Oregon was a victim. In a last-minute attempt by the residents of Antelope to prevent this, they voted to dissolve the town. However, enough members of the cult were living in the town at this point that they were able to override the vote, thus allowing for the takeover of the town. As tensions rose, so too did investigations, and eventually several plots were discovered, including a 1984 bioterror attack where salad bars were poisoned to try and prevent people from voting. Other charges against the more militant leaders and activists within the group included arson, attempted murder of the Oregon Attorney General, immigration fraud, voter fraud, as well as currency and drug smuggling. The end of this cult town came when Rajneesh took a plea deal and agreed to leave the United States, after which the followers left Rajneeshpuram and the commune disbanded. The courts weighed in to determine if the community was illegal, and it rose to the Oregon Supreme Court to make a decision. They ultimately closed the litigation in 1987, which left the community legal by Oregon law. Our final town is Moscow, Idaho, my home right now. It's also home and host to Christ Church, a well-known modern cult whose website boldly calls for, quote, all of Christ for all of life for all of Moscow, end quote. It's their stated mission to convert the entire local area's population to their church. Currently, they have between 900 and 2,000 members, and its leader, Doug Wilson, has publicly stated his support for a theocracy over a civil government. Having lived here for nearly 10 years, I've seen the growth of the church and its attempt at economical takeover. Reportedly from sources, they buy liquor licenses to prevent new drinking establishments from entering the town, and they purchase numerous office buildings, and any potential tenant who refuses to attend the services are denied their lease. And entire subdivisions are being built from the church leadership to expand control over the area. During the COVID pandemic, the church and Doug called for open resistance to measures such as masks, likening medical and ethical restrictions to enslavement and claiming the nation to be in a Cold War civil war. The church has several branched affiliate organizations in the local area. The college offers no undergraduate majors, but follows a single integrated classical liberal arts curriculum from a Christian worldview. The college also offers master's degree in theology and letters in classical Christian studies. Another branched organization is Greyfriars Hall. It's a ministerial training program. Men who complete the 3-year program, which is tuition-free, receive a letter rather than a diploma, and elders of the Christ Church are the program's overseers. Logos School is a non-denominational classical Christian school with numerous connections to Christ Church, which regularly promotes classical Christian education. For all their efforts and their economic and property influence, the church still fails nearly 40 years after its founding to make any real impact on local politics. They routinely attempt to get their members elected to influential positions in local politics, and these attempts have yet to be successful. In truth, it seems like a continual community effort to ensure the church's inability to actually take over local politics in a meaningful way. However, their economical influence in the area has been rapidly growing in previous years, and the future is always uncertain. Well, I think that's probably a good place to end it. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of the Alcove Podcast. If you know another cult town, I'd love to know about it.